Hello, I'm Allison Charney, and this is Preformance's Season of Hope. In this series of concert and conversation with some of today's most sought-after classical musicians, we will explore the theme of hope while offering Preformance's signature ungoogleable insights into the music we make. We will also address the existential question: if musicians are making music, but there's no one there to hear it, have we made music? My answer is not without you, our audience. By being here to listen, you are playing a critical role in the experience we are going to share together. Welcome to Preformance's Season of Hope. Violinist Eriko Sato and pianist David Oei. Welcome, Eriko and David. The two of you have this unique situation amongst most musicians that I know right now, in that you have a musical partner with whom you do not have to be socially distant. And so you can make music together at the same time. There are no latency issues in your home. How exciting is that?
Yes, makes us together.
Let's talk about Korngold. So these two pieces are part of a larger work, a setting of Much Ado About Nothing. And these are two sort of incidental scenes, a march and a garden scene.
Well, the idea was I wanted to do this piece by Ionel Petroi, and it was trying to find something that would balance it. And so we thought this Korngold, which Eriko thinks we played before, and I don't remember. It's good. I mean, I just pretend I haven't played it before, and it was fun.
Yeah, that's funny. I guess when you've made music together for as long as you two have, it's easy to forget which pieces you've done and which you haven't. Some people don't remember where their first date was, and the two of you are disagreeing about whether or not you've played the Korngold. Maybe also just because you've played so much music in your life that there just isn't room to store it all.
And yeah, so.
At least that's my excuse for why I can't remember the things I can't remember. I think, well, there's just so much in there. There's not room for everything. You picked this piece very specifically because you felt it sort of goes with the Petroi.
Yes. Well, it gives more contrast. And as you can hear it, a little quirky.
I don't know if quirky is a contrast to Petroi or if it's a similarity.
Well, quirky more in a traditional way.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Yes, a more romantic and traditional way, yeah.
Korngold is certainly one of the more romantic sounding composers, and became really famous for scoring movies.
Right.
And so he's known for that lush, descriptive and illustrative sound, so that his music makes you see things.
Yes, and we hope to show some contrast between romantic playing and a different kind of romantic playing, because I think that Petroi is very romantic in his own way, deeply romantic also, but it's just a different kind of romantic.
Eriko, can I ask you about voicing? That's something as a singer that I don't have to really worry about. I mean, I suppose I have my own, singers have their own version of it.
I think trying to achieve with a tone quality, amount of vibrato, and I guess touch of the bow, how much weight, and you want to play somewhat clearly, or you want to have a little more sound goes wide and deep and rich that way.
And David, for the piano, voicing is it's a different concept, isn't it?
For the intellectual player, which I'm not, but I hope I voice, instinctively. Yeah, it's certainly bringing out different. On the piano, you can have 3-4 voices going at the same time, and so different lines are going, and how you express them and separate them and combine them, and which ones you stress more than the others. As I say, I am knowledgeable intellectually, but I play totally unintellectually.
So, Eriko, I wonder if David is like that in life away from the piano. Does he punch out his point in a conversation with you, or does he just sort of let it work its way in so that you know instinctively which is the most important piece of what he's saying to you?
I think it's both, but I think he's much more direct in person than he's playing on the piano. I guess piano playing shows much more layer of things, but well, certainly he is thoughtful, but most oftentimes because it's he wants to get point come across, and you may not want to know the truth, but you need to know the truth, and there it is.
But I bet, David, having heard you play now several times, both in this virtual format and live, I think that when there's something to be said and something that needs to be heard in the music, you have a way of crafting it so that we hear it. I hear everything and more that I'm supposed to hear when you play. Why don't we now hear these two selections from Much Ado About Nothing by Korngold, played by the duo of violinist Eriko Sato and pianist David Oei, March and Garden Scene. And that was The March and the Garden Scene from Korngold's Much Ado About Nothing, played by Eriko Sato and David Oei. Eriko, I wonder about the heat. Does the heat affect the violin? I know that the heat and the humidity and any air quality affects the piano strings. Does it affect the violin? Does your violin change?
Yes, yes. Well, first of all, bow hair shrinks or spread. I mean, they get stretch. So that at the summertime it gets a little long. So which means you have to turn it more. And then also humidity affects the quality of sound in the violin itself. The more humid the weather is, tend to go a little bit not what you call bright, a little more soggy sounding.
Humidity is good for the vocal cords, but so if I had to pick, I would pick a nice, wet, humid space to sing in any day.
Okay. Tropical is good.
That's interesting.
Tropical, yeah, maybe that's the answer for me.
Yeah.
Just always be in a tropical climate. You know, Eriko, you and I have talked in front of an audience before about your violin bow.
Yes.
At Merkin Hall, when you were playing some French music, you explained to us that you switched your bow for that piece. And I'm wondering, for these pieces that you're playing today, for the Korngold and the Petroi and the Dvorak and the Brahms, are you using the same bow or do you use a different bow for the pieces?
Well, I have used the same bow for this. I think because video is slightly different. I guess microphone is closer and I can adjust more with my playing, where, in a live hall, the distance makes a big difference. And, little subtle things I can do, but in a big picture, sometimes I feel like changing a bow is, and also it's fun to do it.
To change the bow?
Yeah, right, fun to do it.
And did you get a new violin? Did I see that on social media?
Yes, we just purchased, yes.
We have
exciting.
A real baby. It was born on June 28th.
Wow.
Yes.
And are you using that violin in these performances, or are you using your old standard?
Old violin, but the new violin is getting ready soon, I think. So in the future performance, yes.
And what does it take to get the violin ready? What does that mean?
Wood needs to vibrate more so that it gets, more full potential of colors and
response.
Response, yes.
Yeah, so
the wood needs to vibrate and so respond to the touch that what you do. So it's right now a little bit slow reacting. It's like a what, so I need to go.
So you'll have to come back to Performance the Season of Hope later once your new violin is ready and we can show off the new baby.
Yes, I would love that.
So I want to just talk to you both a little bit about the fact that you have let me crash your duo and let me sing with you for a couple of pieces. Eriko, you know how much I love making music with you, and now I get to make it with David as well. It's been a real treat to work on these two very, very standard and very romantic and very beautiful pieces with you. But as we all know, and as I've spoken about on this show, it is really impossible to make music together at the same exact time if you are not in the same space. And so all these performances that people are seeing online now are being done by the magic of technology and not because people are playing at the same time. And so there would be no way for me to sing with you. You can't play and have me sing at the same time over Zoom or over Skype or over the phone or anything, because the sound just doesn't happen at the same time for the two parties. So it's been, throughout this journey of Performance the Season of Hope, I have started to get a rhythm down for how to manage this ensemble music making. And I'm just so excited that the two of you let me crash your party.
But this is our first attempt.
Yes.
I don't know if we would do it with anybody else, really. I hope this works. And well, I can't wait to be able to do it with you in person.
Right.
Well, that's one of the points of all of this is, to just answer this question for myself that I was having in the first couple of months of this, where I thought, am I still a musician if I'm not making music that people can hear? I don't know. And I really do think that we need an audience. If the music just sits on the page or just stays in your living room, it doesn't really serve the purpose of music, except for, I suppose, nurturing yourself, which is fine. But I think what we've all discovered, all of us musicians, is that we really have to figure out ways to get the music out of ourselves and into people's ears. And, if we're going to do it together, this is the only way to do it right now.
The great thing is, for the first time, people who haven't heard us play in decades, people from Australia, from Hong Kong, from Japan, they are hearing us play, and I think they're enjoying it. And and that's priceless, but not that we would prefer this, but at least there's something very good going on.
Well, silver lining, again, thousands and thousands of people have watched these Season of Hope videos, and that, it's more people than fit in the concert hall.
Right.
So we are reaching people, and I hope to all of you who are listening or watching that you'll stick with us. And when we go back to a live format, that you'll come with us back to the concert hall.
Yeah.
Here's my hope.
Yeah, that will be exciting. Yes.
So why don't we take a listen to two of my most favorite pieces, Brahms' Wigenlied, which you may recognize as the Lullaby, and the beautiful Dvorak piece, Songs My Mother Taught Me. And this will be performed by me, soprano Allison Charney, violinist Eriko Sato, and pianist David Oei.
Guten Abend, gute Nacht, mit Rosen bedacht, mit Näglein besteckt, Schub vom Weide
And that was Brahms's Beautiful Lullaby and Dvorak's Songs My Mother Taught Me with the Sato We duo crashed by Allison Charney, soprano. I am so delighted to welcome composer Ionel Petroi to Performances Season of Hope. Welcome, Ionel.
Thank you, Allison, for having me.
I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy that David and Eriko wanted to play your music. On episode 3A, I featured composer Michael Ching and the Arc Trio, and the piece that Michael Ching wrote for the Arc Trio, he calls Arrangements and Derangements, Interpretations of Schubert. And he takes Schubert songs and flips them upside down. And in this piece, you've taken a Handel aria and whacked it out. I don't know. And I just wonder when I hear it, because there's no reference in the title, there's no clue to the audience when they just see the name of it, that they're going to hear a piece that is so evocative of something they may have heard before. And I would imagine that people who know the Handel have one reaction and people who don't know the Handel have another reaction. And that's my first question to you is, did you think about that when you wrote the piece? And then I want to ask you just about the piece, but I can't get over my own personal reaction to hearing it.
Absolutely, the inspiration was Handel piece from Rinaldo opera, La Gioia Pianga. I was so-seduced by the simplicity and also by the sadness. Just this sadness, Handel sadness, it's also beautiful sadness. And of course, I didn't want to add more words to say gypsy beauty or sadness, but so I said sadness, and this is the most important thing for me, because for the titles, I think that sometimes we have to precise in a simple way, you know, and to call our piece in order the audience, they get it probably from the beginning. So I think that everybody is aware of what does it mean as sadness.
That's really interesting. I've never actually given any thought, I have to admit, to what it takes for a composer to name their piece. That's a fascinating part of it. Do you come to the title after you hear it, after you've finished the work, or in the middle of the work, or at the beginning of, do you get the idea for the big picture first and then go to writing, or how does that work for you, that process?
I think that most of my pieces I compose, now that you asked me, I had the emotion at the beginning, and the title came in the same time, you know. So, but sometimes probably I modify a little bit.
That's fair. Once you see what you've got.
Yeah.
You have never heard the Handel and you want to look it up. It is a great aria from the opera Rinaldo by Handel, and the aria is called Lascia ch'io pianga, Let Me Weep. And now I think we should hear the Ionel Petroi version, which he calls Gipsy Sadness, played by violinist Eriko Sato and pianist David Oei. that was Gipsy Sadness by Ionel Petroi, played by Eriko Sato and David Oei. Tell me about Gipsy Djumbus and tell me about that name, what it means.
Gipsy Djumbus, it's a joyful music. So this was my idea to switch from something joyful to kind of sadness that I called the second piece. So Gipsy Djumbus was composed in a very specific time when I came to New York to play my first concert with the New York Philharmonic violinist Anna Rabinova in 2005, and the inspiration of Gipsy Djumbus was, as I said, a joy, but it's a kind of hectic joy. It's not a simple joy like Rossini, let's say, because we talk about Handel. It's and the Djumbus, it's kind of slang in the Serbian language, which means chaotic. Now, this, let's say, we can say it's a chaotic joy, but so I call Gypsy. Now, why Gypsy? Because, as I mentioned, that I was born in, I didn't mention that because I'm talking Serbian, I was born in former Yugoslavia from Romanian parents moving to France. So I integrated many Gypsy cultures. So, and I found that it's a similarity in the Gypsy culture between joy and sadness.
Well, you know, I always say to my children that you cannot experience one emotion without understanding the opposite emotion. So, you know, like a coin, like a penny. You can't have the heads without the tails. You can't have joy without understanding sadness, or joy has no meaning.
Yes.
So I think it's a beautiful philosophical idea to give us both sides of the coin. You know, it's interesting to me. I'm fascinated by language as a singer. That would make sense. And it's fascinating to me that one piece, your title is in English, and the other piece, it's not. And I wonder, is Serbian, is that your first language?
First language was Romanian, Serbian, French, because I lived in France for many years, and now here, so it's English, the fourth one.
And do you think in all those languages, did you consider calling it Gypsy Chaos instead of Gypsy Djumbus? Or I'm just curious how that happens.
It was something natural to mix, you know, these two languages, let's say Serbian and English.
You know, I always think it's fascinating when people who are bilingual or trilingual or multilingual, that they, certain words and certain feelings ring more truthfully in one language or another.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that I would prefer, in this case, to answer your question, to preserve these two languages together, you know, because Djumbus, probably it's chaotic, maybe the translation, but it's more than, it's emotional for me, something, you know.
I really admire people who have such facility to switch between languages, and especially, I think, in today's world and in today's America, it's so important to understand all the cultures that make this country great, and to understand a connection between us and everybody else, and that one of the bridges to other people is to understand language. And of course, another bridge, which is the beauty of what we do, is music, which is universal in its language. This is this wild and fun and fast piece. Is it hard to play?
The way I play, which is just going all out for something, and it has to work with that one take for posterity. That makes it really kind of difficult.
You know, I talked in episode 4 of Season of Hope, the episode that premiered just before yours, Will, with cellist Peter Seidenberg, and we were talking about this notion of collaboration, whether live or in this virtual way, and how when you're making music with somebody else, you often get sort of past the ball, like in football, in a way that maybe you hadn't anticipated and in a way that maybe isn't the most comfortable, but you got to run with it. You've got to take that pass the way it's given to you and then turn it into magic. And in a way, that's just what you're saying now, that, you know, you have a piece like this and you just start and it takes you where it takes you. And if things aren't exactly as you had planned, maybe it would go, you've got to just keep going, get to the double bar at the end.
Well, this piece actually is like a gymnastics almost. I mean, it's for, I don't know, for the violin, it sounds so crazy too.
I think the balance of going really crazy, effect of craziness, but he write actual notes. So to try to be somewhat accurate, you know, so sliding up and down, but landing in some kind of a right pitch is a challenge. Yeah, and absolutely, you know, you feel like you're just going up and down for no, you know, just the effect of it, but actually actual pitch itself is involved and harmonies. So I try to be accurate and yeah.
Well, knowing you as I do, although I have not seen this piece written down on paper, I'm going to guess that you're pretty darn accurate, Eriko, as you always are.
Oh.
The thing about Eriko's playing is that she is, David, I'm sure you'll agree with me, she is accurate as can be, but always filled with so much soul and heart. And I hear her play, and I mean, so often, Eriko, you bring me to tears, even when I'm on stage with you.
Oh, thank you. That's part of, like a violin is a vocal line, isn't it? So that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, well, you certainly sing on the violin, and I'm excited now to hear the duo, husband-wife duo of Eriko Sato and David Oei playing Ionel Petroi's Gipsy Djumbus. Gipsy Djumbus by Ionel Petroi, played by violinist Eriko Sato and pianist David Oei. David and Eriko, I am so grateful to the two of you for being a part of my life, for being on performances when it's live at Merkin Hall. Eriko, for all of our collaborations in the last couple of years. I am so grateful to our mutual friend, pianist Donna Wang-Friedman, who's appearing on this show one episode after you. I'm so grateful to her for bringing us together.
Yes, same here.
And I appreciate your sharing your music with all of my listeners in these very strange and isolating times. And again, I know that this is not something that you've done before in terms of branching out and making music with somebody not living with you in these times. So I really appreciate your letting me sing along. And here's to being together in person. Thank you so much for talking to me today. And thank you for continuing to compose music. And thank you for these beautiful pieces that David and Eriko are performing on Season of Hope. And I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
I hope too, and thank you so much, Allison, for having me on your platform. Of course, thank you to David and Eriko, great performers, and as you mentioned, we have to have these two pieces in the real concert hall.
To the real concert hall.
Yes.
I close every performances the same way with Richard Strauss's 90-second long gem Zuiegnung, a piece filled with Dank, with thanks, because I am always truly so overfilled with gratitude at this point in the program. I would like to thank all the featured guests on Performances Season of Hope, and I would also like to thank our charitable partner, the Vassar Center at the University of Pennsylvania, for their miraculous and life-saving cancer research. If you'd like to learn more about performances and find out how you can contribute to future programming, please visit us at www.preformances.org, where you will also see a list of our friends whose generosity enables this series to happen. My special thanks to our 11th season maestros, Mindy and Jonathan Gray, Sally Ann and Irvin Epstein, and the Gray Foundation. I'd like to thank our producer, editor, and engineer, Evan Epstein, and you, our Performances audience, for giving us a reason to keep the music playing. And now, along with Performances official collaborative pianist Craig Ketter, Zueignung by Richard Strauss. I'm Allison Charney. Habe Dank.
Ja, du weißt es, teure Seele, dass ich fern von dir mich wähle. Lebe macht die Herzen krank. Habe Dank. Einst hielt ich der Freiheit sicher, hoch die lammetigsten Becher, und du segnetest den Trank. Habe Dank. Und beschworst